Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for Robbie Rants. Today, let's talk about Doomsday Clock number 1. Alright guys, that's right. First of all, thank you for checking out the video. Doomsday Clock number 1, it's here. The long-anticipated, long-awaited follow-up to The Watchmen, to DC Rebirth, to DC Flash, Batman, The Button, to Superman, The Oz Effect, all that stuff. The culmination, it's here, issue 1. I loved it. If you watched the weekly comic book review, I thought it was great. I gave a really brief a discussion in that one, but I didn't spoil anything. So warning, I'm spoiling this issue in this video. Let's talk about this comic book. I loved it. It picks up a few years after the conclusion of The Watchmen. This basically tells us what has been going on in this world since the end of that story. So Adrian Veidt, Ozymandias, his plan basically works and the world unites for a minute, and Russia, for instance, or the Soviet Union, gets together with the US and they start doing this whole thing to for nuclear disarmament, and everything is going fine for a little bit, and then all of a sudden it gets really, really worse. And at the very, very beginning, Rorschach, and we'll get to that in just a minute, Rorschach's talking about, we saved everything, but we, of course, could not just allow that to happen. Of course, it all went to hell again. So things have heated back up. There are tensions between, now Russia is invading Europe. There's all kinds of geopolitical stuff going on, and a lot of it is, of course, taking political stances on political issues today, which is what Alan Moore kind of did with the original Watchmen back in the day, talking a lot about things like Reaganism and such like that. So it does have that type of stuff. So tonally, it really does fit with the Watchmen. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. If you read the backup stories, or the little backup bits, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on, that's been happening. So basically, humanity has just completely ruined it again. So in the long run, Veidt does not win. Now, we see Rorschach here. So first of all, Veidt's lie has been exposed. Everybody knows what he did with the evil squid monster and how he was responsible for the deaths of millions of people. So now there's a new Rorschach, and he's going through this prison, and he breaks out these two supervillains named the Marionette and the Mime. These are basically versions of Charlton characters, which the Watchmen are. Question, Rorschach, Blue Beetle, Night Owl, Thunderbolt, Peter Cannon, Ozymandias, and so on and so forth. So he takes these characters of Julie and Punch, and creates the Mime and the Marionette. And the Mime has one of the best scenes in this book. Really, really like it. The imaginary gun bit, when he points it at Rorschach, great. But we also learn that it's not the original Rorschach from The Watchmen. It's a new Rorschach, because at the end of Watchmen, Rorschach was killed by Dr. Manhattan. Geoff Johns, the writer, wanted to keep what he could. He wanted to respect the original work, but do something different. And one of the things I saw Tom King mention this on Twitter today, he said it's not so much a sequel to Watchmen as a response. I think it works perfectly. It's a great sequel / response to The Watchmen. You find out what's been going on in the world. It all makes sense to me. All the political stuff. There's a new Rorschach. He's a black man, it seems. Who is he? Have no idea. Some theories, for instance, if you look at the end here, when we got these little teasers for upcoming bits, they got an image of Rorschach right there, and it is a quote. It says, "Go on, tell me what you really see." It's a quote from Dr. Malcolm Long, who you will remember from Watchmen was the Rorschach psychiatrist. He was a black man. We thought maybe he died. There was another black character in the Watchmen. It was the kid, if you remember, that was reading the Tales of the Black Freighter. So those are two possibilities for who this new Rorschach could be that's in that world. Now, I think that both of them, we are led to believe, died at the end of Watchmen, but this is going to play out a whole lot more. So it is a new Rorschach, and it works. It's a different Rorschach, though. He doesn't quite... Rorschach was so black and white, he would never go against his own code, even to do what is right. And that's kind of why I think he allows himself is kind of a weird way to put it, but I think he allows himself to be killed by Dr. Manhattan at the end of Watchmen, because he knows this will work. This will bridge the gap. Well, we find out it bridges the gap just for a little bit. Humanity is destined to just allow themselves to be divided. And it does speak on some stuff going on in America, in Europe, today, across the world even. So I really, really like that. I think this is one of Geoff Johns' strongest books he's ever done. One of his strongest issue number ones. We still have 11 issues to go, so we shall see. So Rorschach breaks out the mime and the marionette for his boss. He leads them in, and we find out that his boss is Veidt. It's Ozymandias. Rorschach is working with him, and Veidt realizes, I failed. And he really needs Marionette. Mime's just along for the ride because it's her man, and that's what they're doing. Of course, Veidt has kidnapped their child and and basically tells them, you help me on this mission, I'll give you whatever you want and your child back. So they kind of get coerced into it very hardly. But I really think it makes a lot of sense. Veidt realized that his plan did not work, and he still wants to save the world. He thinks the only way he can save the world is Dr. Manhattan. So he says, we got to find him wherever he went. Flashback to him, to Dr. Manhattan, when he tells Veidt that I'm going somewhere to another galaxy, a little less complicated. Flash into Superman, we see Clark Kent. He's having a nightmare about the last night his parents were alive on Earth. He gets driven to a dance. They have a nice little heart-to-heart moment. And then, of course, they get hit by a car, and we know that in the New 52 origin, that was what happened to Superman. His parents died in a car accident when he was a teenager. That's not what happened in the original continuity. They were alive for a long, long time, right? So did someone go in there and mess it up on purpose? It could almost even be alluded to, it seems, that Superman himself is Dr. Manhattan. And this is something I theorized over the last couple years, ever since DC Rebirth. I don't think that's quite what it is, but definitely Manhattan is messing with things and playing around with things. But I loved it. It doesn't really go it doesn't do anything really as far as the mystery of what Dr. Manhattan or whoever has been up to in the DC universe, DC Rebirth and all that stuff, the button, where that came from. We don't know any of that stuff yet, but this is all building up into it. Really, really interesting. I loved how it just took on the Watchmen. And Geoff Johns was bold with this book. I really think so, because automatically most people could just be like, screw that book, I'm not even down for it. Don't even want to check it out. But this book is hot. It's everywhere. People are loving it. I think Geoff Johns did an incredibly good job. Gary Frank's artwork is amazing. The coloring is amazing. Just such an amazing comic book. The colorist, by the way, is Brad Anderson. Do not skip out on that. The paper stock is kind of like newsprint a little bit. It does have that feel. It's got so much into it. The panel layouts, it parallels the first issue of The Watchmen so much. I love it. Mime is like one of my favorite characters in here. I love the new Rorschach, because Rorschach, like I totally got distracted. Rorschach has a code, and he has to live by it. This Rorschach seems like he compromises a little bit more, but there's something very scary about him. So I just thought that every nail was hit perfectly on the head on this issue. I loved it. I loved it. And it doesn't really get into the big mystery yet of what's going on with DC Rebirth, the New 52, but it's just such a great bridge from Watchmen into that. I'm goo-goo gaga for this book. I'm just loving it. So I just reread it, and I read this thing 3 times, and I just love it. I think it's great. The characters ring true. The pacing is spot on. All the backstory, everything. I loved it. It makes a lot of sense. I think it's a great book. That's what I thought. What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Spoilers in the comments, by the way, guys. So I can't, you never know what's going to happen. But seriously, I love this book. I highly recommend it. It's already sold out at DC and Diamond. Coming back for a second printing. I love it. One more thing, November 22nd, the date that it releases in 2017. The story starts off November 22nd, 1992, pretty much the same week that Doomsday killed Superman. That's intriguing. Also the assassination of JFK, so it's an important date because of that. But also in The Watchmen, that's the day that John becomes Dr. Manhattan. So that's a neat little tidbit there. Lots of cool stuff. If I didn't mention anything, or if you saw something else in the book, let me know in the comments down below what you think about the book. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I might do one of these for every single one of these issues, because this is one of the biggest things that happen in comics in a while. Will it pan out? I hope so. First issue seems like it will. So thank you guys for watching the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget, weekly comic book review every single week. If you haven't watched that, be sure to check that out. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for blah, 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 blah. Thank you for rocking with us. Keep on reading.